Good afternoon, everyone. So I will be continuing with the subject with human values, professional ethics, and it consists of one more part that is Constitution of India. So, so I think that almost in all the three divisions, the human values and professional ethics topic has been covered. That is, it consists of module 1 and module 2. And the third module is based on the Constitution of India. Okay. So in this Constitution of India, as you people have learnt in your school days, that is, it comprises mostly of the civics part. Okay. So in that, the first part is regarding the state executives. So in that, in the state executive, the governor plays a very important role. So as you can see that for each state, a governor should be present. So that provided that nothing in this article shall prevent the appointment of the same person as a governor of 2 or more states. So that means that for each state, one governor should be present. Okay. So now let us see what are the powers of that of the governors. Okay. So the executive power of the state shall be vested in the governor and shall be exercised by him either directly or through officers subordinate to him in accordance with this constitution. So nothing in this article shall be deemed with a transfer to the governor any functions conferred by any existing laws on any other authority or prevent parliament or legislature of the state from confirming by laws functions on any authority subordinate to the governor. Okay. So now in this slide we shall see how the governor is appointed. So the governor is appointed basically by a president. So under the hand of the president only the governor has to be appointed. So now let us see what dealing further with the governors. So now what will be the term of the if a governor is appointed to each state, what will be its what will be his term? That means during which period his work should be carried out. So the governor should hold office during the pleasure of the president. So the governor may, by writing under his hand addressed to the president, resign his office. Subject to foregoing provisions of this article, a governor should hold office for a term of 5 years. So you can see over there, the maximum term of the governor is around 5 years from the date from which he enters upon his office. Okay. So to be a governor, what qualifications he has to undergo? Okay. So no person. So as we all know that the first and foremost thing to become any political party or any higher post in the in case of the government sectors, he should be a citizen of India. Okay, so that is the first major criteria. Then next is he has completed at an age of around 35 years. Then only he is eligible to become a governor. Then next, what are the conditions of the governor's office? The governor shall not be a member of either house of the parliament or the house of the legislature. So this is very, very important. See there. To become a governor, he should not be a member of either of the two houses. Which are those two houses? House of Parliament and also House of the Legislature of any state. Okay. So the governor shall not hold any office of profit. Then next, the governor shall be entitled with payment of rent to the use of his official residencies and shall be entitled to such emoluments. So emoluments is nothing but his salaries, allowances and privileges as may be determined by the parliament. So in that only one more subcategory they have made, that is where the same person is appointed as a governor of two or more states, the emoluments and allowances payable to the governor shall be allocated among the states in such proportion as the president may be order determine. That means in case if suppose a governor can be appointed for two or more state also. Okay, so till now what we have seen, for each state governor has to be present, but in some cases a governor may take a role for two states also. In those two states, the condition is given in 3A. Okay, so next point is that the emoluments and allowances of the governor shall not be diminished during his term of office. The emoluments means what I have told, it is nothing but a salary. Next, so so now coming further to the governor part, what are his oath and affirmations by the governor? So every governor and every person discharging the functions of the governor shall before entering upon his office make and subscribe in the presence of the Chief Justice. That means before entering to his office, he has to obey the Chief Justice of the High Court, exercising jurisdiction in relation to the state, or in his absence, the senior most judge of the court available. If suppose the Chief Justice is absent during that case, he has to take the permission from the higher most judge of the court. Okay, so now let us see what are the powers of the governors now. So the governor of the state shall have the power to grant pardons, reprieves, respites or remissions of the punishment, to the suspend or reminate or commute the sentence of any persons convicted of any offence against any law relating to the matter to which the executive power of the state extends. So that means whatever the power of the judges is having, so the same power will be given to the governors also. He can, if suppose if the judge gives his decisions, then the governor has the power to change his decisions, change the decision of that judges. Okay. So next is the extent of executive powers of the state. So the executive power of the state shall extend to the matters with respect to which the legislature of the state has power to make laws. So which are those laws? Provided that in any matter with respect to which the legislature of the state and parliament have power to make laws, the executive power of the state shall be subject to and limited by the executive power expressly conferred by its constitution, by the law made by the parliament upon the union or authorities thereof. So now let us see something about the chief minister and the council of ministers. Council of ministers now. So there shall be a council of minister with the chief minister at the head to aid and advise the governor in exercise of his functions and exercise of his function and exercise his functions. Okay, or any of them in the discretion. So the discretion is the freedom to decide what should be done in a particular situation. So that power has been given to the council of the ministers. So if any question arises, the governor is by or under this constitution required to act in his discretion. The decision of the governor in his discretion shall be final. So whatever the governor is like a topmost person among the chief ministers and also the council of the ministers, each and every power has been given to the governor, and the validity of anything done by the governor shall not be called in question, or the ground that is out or out not have acted in his direction. So whatever may be the decision of the governor, no one has got authority to question also. Okay, so that is the power of that governor now. So the question whether any or if so what advice was tendered by the ministers to the governor shall not be inquired in any court. So you can see that if the governor makes any decisions or the decision made by the judge, even he can make a reverse of that, then also it is not questioned in any of the courts. Okay, so the other provisions has to ministers. So the chief minister shall be appointed by the governors. So please make a note that whatever who and all the so the chief minister is there, that is CM. Each state is having his own CMs now. So how that chief minister is appointed? It is appointed by the governors only, and the other ministers shall be appointed by the governor on the advice of the chief minister. So if you take a state, one chief minister will be there and one governor will be there, and above that, extending to that, some more small ministers will be there. So those ministers will be appointed by both, that is a chief minister and also governor. They make discussions, and then later they will come to the conclusion that which minister should be given to which type of person, and the minister shall hold office during the pleasure of the governor, provided that, so some exceptional cases are there, so you can see that, provided that in the state of Bihar, Madhya Pradesh and Orissa, there shall be a minister in charge of tribal welfare who may in addition be in charge of a welfare of the scheduled caste and backward classes. So for those types, that is scheduled caste and backward classes, in the states like Bihar, Madhya Pradesh and Orissa, they have appointed a special minister to look after the welfare of those scheduled caste and scheduled backward classes. The total number of ministers, including the chief minister in the council of ministers in the state, shall not exceed 15%. So see that whatever the total number of ministers are there, including the chief minister in the council of the minister in the state, should not exceed what? 15% of the total number of members of the legislative assembly of that state. Okay, provided that the number of ministers, including the chief minister in the state, shall not be less than 12. Then a minister who for any period of 6 consecutive months is not a member of the legislature of the state. So see there, a minister who for any period of 6 consecutive months, that is whatever the consecutive months are there, if he exceeds 6 consecutive months, he shall not be a member of the legislature of that particular state. Shall at the expiration of that period cease to be a minister. So next, the salaries and the allowances of the ministers shall be such as the legislature of the state may from time to time by law determine, and until the legislature of the state so determines shall be specified in the second schedule. Okay, so now coming down to the state legislature now. So constitution of legislature in the state. So for every state there shall be a legislature which shall consist of a governor. Okay, so as I have told, some exceptional cases will be there. In the state of Bihar, Maharashtra, Karnataka and Uttar Pradesh, 2 houses are there. So which are those 2 houses? That is legislative council and also legislative assembly. So in other states, except the states of Bihar, Maharashtra, Karnataka and Uttar Pradesh, except those states, all the states except those states, the other states are having only one house, that is legislative assembly. So where there are 2 houses of legislature of state, one shall be known as legislative council and the other as a legislative assembly. So these legislative council and also legislative assembly will be present in the states of Bihar, Maharashtra, Karnataka and Uttar Pradesh. Okay, so please note that legislative council and legislative assembly will be there for only these states, and the rest of the states, okay, except those Bihar, Maharashtra, Karnataka and Uttar Pradesh, the rest of the states will have only one house, that is legislative assembly. Okay, so now let us see something about the legislative assembly. So the Vidhan Sabha is also known as legislative assembly. So what wherever the Vidhan Sabha you find, those parts is known as legislative assembly. Is the lower house of the state legislature in India. Members of the Vidhan Sabha are direct representatives of the people of the particular state, as they are directly elected by an electorate consisting of an adult citizen of that state. So how the members of that legislative assembly is elected is, directly elected by an electorate consisting of an adult citizen of that state. Okay, by that person, that person is responsible for the for the members of that legislative assembly. Okay, its maximum size outlined in the Constitution of India is not more than 500 members. So note that in the legislative assembly, the maximum members in that Vidhan Sabha is, it should not exceed 500 members and not less than 60. Okay. So however, it can be some more, if suppose if the number goes below 60, then what are the conditions now? So let us see there. It can be less than 60 by the act of parliament, like in the states of Goa, Sikkim and Mizoram. So in these three states, the Vidhan Sabha members are less than 60. So if it is less than 60, it comes under the act of parliament. Okay. So the governor can appoint one member to represent the Anglo-Indian community if he or she finds the community to be adequately represented in the house. Okay. So to become this thing, that is state, that is legislative, that is Vidhan Sabha members, what should be his qualification? So as and foremost, as I have told, like he should, the basic criteria to be entering into a politics or any other field in a government sector, he has to be a citizen of India. Okay, so not less than 25 years of age. To become a governor, what is the age criteria is 35 years, but to become this thing, that is legislative Vidhan Sabha member, he should be not less than 25 years. Okay. He should be mentally sound and should be bankrupt. That means he should have, bankrupt means he should have not undergone any police cases under his background. He should also be he should also state an affidavit that there is no criminal procedures against him. That is, he should provide a clean chit from the police department that he is not having any criminal records. Next qualification is what? The members of the Vidhan Sabha elect a speaker of Vidhan Sabha. The speaker acts as a neutral judge and manages all debates and discussions in the house. Next, the Vidhan Sabha holds equal legislative power with the upper house of the state legislature, the Vidhan Parishad, except in the area of money bills, in which case the Vidhan Sabha has the ultimate authority. Okay, so if conflicting legislation is enacted by two houses, a joint sitting is held to resolve the difference. Okay, so if suppose if there is any conflict between this thing, that is two houses, then a joint sitting is held to resolve those, whatever the difference of opinions are there between the two houses. Then next, so now let us see what are the powers of that Vidhan Sabha. A motion of no confidence against the government in the state can only be introduced in the Vidhan Sabha. It is passed by a majority vote, then the chief minister and the council of ministers must collectively resign. Okay, a money bill can only be introduced in Vidhan Sabha. So only that money bill, whatever the concept is there, it has to be introduced in case of the legislative assembly. That is nothing but Vidhan Sabha. After it is passed, the Vidhan Sabha, it is sent to a Vidhan Parishad. So now please make a note over here. I am using two words, that is Vidhan Sabha and Vidhan Parishad. Both are different, don't get confused. Where it can be kept for a maximum time of 14 days, whatever the bill which has passed. Okay, so it can be kept in a Vidhan Parishad for maximum of 14 days. Unless the Vidhan Parishad rejects it or 14 days lapse. So if suppose, okay, if the Vidhan Parishad, whatever the bill, money bill which has come in the Vidhan Parishad from the Vidhan Sabha, if the Vidhan Parishad rejects it or the lapse of the 14 days then what will happen? The bill is considered as passed. Okay. The budget of the state is also presented in the Vidhan Sabha by the finance ministers. So whatever the budget which is allocated for each state, so that has to be passed by a finance minister of Vidhan Sabha of the state in the name of the governor of that state. So whatever the decisions has to be taken, so the decisions has to be approved by the governor of that particular state. So in matters related to ordinary bills, after it is passed by originating house, it is sent to the other house where it can be kept for maximum period of 6 months. So suppose if there are ordinary bills, then the bills has to be passed, so it can be kept for a maximum of 6 months. Okay, money bill, the maximum days to keep with Vidhan Parishad is 14 days. Okay, so the ordinary bills for 6 months they can keep. So if the other house rejects the bill or 6 months passes, it results in a situation of deadlock. So please note a difference between money bill and ordinary bill. If the ordinary bill, if the Vidhan Parishad forgets it or if it rejects, then also the money bill will be passed by the finance minister. Okay. Then if the ordinary bill is held up, the maximum period up to which that ordinary bill is held up is 6 months. Even after that, it gets rejected, or if the person forgets for about 6 months, the result in that situation will be called as deadlock. That means it cannot be moved further. But in case of the money bill, anyhow it has to be passed. If the Vidhan Parishad people fail to pass that, the governor has got authority to sign it and move to the further departments. Okay. So this is resolved by the governor by calling a joint session of both the houses, which is presided over by the Speaker of Vidhan Sabha and decided by a simple majority. Next, so till now we have seen about Legislative Assembly. So now let us see about Legislative Council now. So the Vidhan Parishad, so whatever I have told, there are two types, that is Vidhan Sabha and Vidhan Parishad. Vidhan Sabha comes under Legislative Assembly. Vidhan Parishad comes under Legislative Council now. So the Vidhan Parishad, also known as Legislative Council, forms a part of the state legislature of India. In 6 of India's 28 states, that is from that 28 states, except 6, which are those Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Jammu and Kashmir and Andhra Pradesh, the Legislative Council serves as the upper house. Okay, except those 6 states, the rest of the houses, so the Legislative Councils serve as the upper house of the bicameral legislature. It is a house of indirectly elected by the people. It is also a permanent house because it can be dissolved. Also, only 1/3 of the members run for election for every 2 years. So the members of this Vidhan Parishad gets elected for every 2 years. Every MLC serves for a term of 6 years. So whatever the MLC for each ward is having, those comes under this Legislative Council or Vidhan Parishad. So what are the qualifications to become a Legislative Council member or a Vidhan Parishad members are? To become an MLC, a person, so as I have told, it is a basic criteria, that is he should be a citizen of India, but not under a 30 years of age. So see the age differences. For the governor, it is required 35 years of age. For Legislative Assembly, it is 25 years, and for Legislative Assembly, it is 25 years, and Legislative Council, it is 30 years. He should be a mentally sound and should not be a bankrupt. So the same holds good for the Legislative Assembly also. His name should be on the voters list of the state from where he from where he is contesting the elections. Okay, so membership now. The size of the Vidhan Parishad cannot be more than 1/3 of the membership of the Vidhan Sabha. So those all comes under one category only. So Vidhan Parishad, Vidhan Sabha, both comes under one category. So in that category, the Vidhan Parishad members are there. It should not be more than 1/3 of the total. Okay, total number of members which are there. In that, 1/3 should be a member of the Vidhan Parishad. The rest members are there. Those comes under Legislative Assembly. Next. But its size cannot be less than 40 except in Jammu and Kashmir. Since Jammu and Kashmir has got a very less population, so in Jammu and Kashmir they have restricted the members up to 40. So 1/6 of its membership is nominated by the governors. So again, governor plays a very important role in electing the members of the Legislative Council. Another 1/3 is elected by the local government bodies and 1/5 by the teachers of the secondary schools, colleges and universities. Okay. So now let us see something about the high courts in the states now. So the high courts for a state shall be a high court for each state. So for each state consists of a high court. High court to be courts of the record. So every high court shall be a court of record and shall have all the powers of such count, including the powers to punish or contempt of itself. Constitution of high courts. So every high court shall consist of a chief justice. So as we all know that chief justice is the present in he is the head of that high court, and such other judges as the president may from time to time deem it necessary to appoint. Okay. Next, appointment and conditions of the offices of the judge of the high court now. So every judge of a high court shall be appointed by the president. So please make a note. The judge who and all is present in the court has to be appointed by the president now, with the Chief Justice of India, the governor of the state. Okay. So all these three people, three people sit together, and depending upon their discussions, they appoint a judge for a high court. The Chief Justice of the High Court shall not hold office in the areas of the additional or acting judge as provision in Article 224, and in case of any other case until he attains the age of 62 years, provided that a judge may by writing under his hand addressed to the president resign his office. So before the age of 62, if a judge wants to resign, what are the conditions? A judge may by writing his hand addressed to the president that resign his office. Okay, that is the first condition. Next is a judge may be removed from his office by the president in a manner provided in clause 4 of Article 124 for the removal of the judge of the Supreme Court. So don't worry about those articles. So just remember the name of the number, that is Article 124. So in that Article 124, a judge may be removed from his office by the president. The president has got the authority to appoint the judge now. So even the president has the power to remove also. If the president tries to remove a judge, then that comes under clause 4 of Article 124. Okay. The office of the judge shall be vacated by his being appointed by the president to be a judge of the Supreme Court, or by his being transferred by the president to any other high court within the territory of India. Even he may transfer from any territory of the India, that is from state to state. A person shall not be qualified for the appointment as a judge of the high court unless he is a citizen of India. So this is the basic criteria. He should be a citizen of India. Next, has for at least 10 years held in a judicial office in the territory of India, or has for at least 10 years being an advocate of the high court or 2 or more such courts in the session. So these are the qualifications. That is, he should be at least 10 years. He should serve his service as a advocate in high court, or 2 or more such courts in the sessions. Next, what are the oath a judge of the High Court should take? Every person appointed to be a judge of the High Court shall before he enters upon his office make and subscribe before the governor of the state or some person appointed in that behalf by him an oath or affirmation according to the form set out for the purpose of the third schedule. Next, transfer of a judge from one High Court to another. If the transfer occurs, what are those conditions now? The President may, after consultation with the Chief Justice of India, transfer a judge from one High Court to the other High Court. So as I have told, President appoints the judge and President has got all the power to remove a judge. If he tries to remove a judge, clause 4 of Article 124 he has to follow, and he has got even the authority to transfer that judge now. Okay, to any High Courts. When a judge has been or so transferred during a period he serves after the commencement of Constitution Act of 1963 as a judge of other High Courts, be entitled to receive addition to his salaries. If the President wishes to transfer a judge from one place to the another place, that act can be called as 15th Amendment, that is Act of 1963. So what a judge can get, he can be entitled to receive in addition to his salary. In addition to his salary, he may get some extra benefit also, if the President wishes to transfer a judge from one place to the another place. So appointment of acting a Chief Justice. When the office of the Chief Justice of the High Court is vacant, or when any such Chief Justice is by reason of absence or otherwise unable to perform the duties of his office, the duties of the office shall be performed by such one of the other judge of the court as the President may appoint for the purpose. Appointment of additional and acting judge. If by the reason of any temporary increase in the business of the High Court or by reason of the areas of work therein, it appears to be a precedent that the number of judges that a High Court should be for the time being increased, the President may appoint duly qualified person to be an additional judge of the court for such period not exceeding 2 years. So if any additional judge has to be appointed, the President has to go all the points. Okay, 2 years as he may specify. So if he appoints an extra judge, minimum of 2 years he has to be there in that territory only. Okay. Next, the President may appoint a duly qualified person to act as a judge of that court until the permanent judge has resumed his duties. Okay. So what it says, if a President appoints a judge now, so until when he can be there, until the permanent judge he resumes his duty, till then he has got all the temporary judge has got all the powers to run the court. No person appointed as an additional or acting judge of the High Court shall hold office after retaining the age of 62 years. So the maximum retirement age for the judge is what? 62 years now. Power of High Courts to issue certain rights now. In Article 32, so one article is this. In that article, what does it specify? Every High Court shall have power throughout the territories in relation to which it exercises jurisdiction to issue any person or authority, including in appropriate case any government within those territories directions. Where any party against whom an interim order, whether by the way of injunction or stay or in other manner, is made in any proceedings relating to the petitions under the clause 1 without furnishing to such parties copies of such petitions and all documents in support of plea for such interim order, and give such party an opportunity of being heard. The next, powers of the superintendence over the courts by a High Court. Every High Court shall have a intendence over all courts and tribunals throughout the territories in relation to which it exercises jurisdiction. Without prejudice of the generally of the foregoing provision, the High Court may call for returns from such courts, make an issue general rules and prescribe form for regulating the practice and proceedings of such courts, and prescribe form in which books, entries and accounts shall be kept by the officers of such courts. Next, transfer of certain cases to the High Court now. If the High Court is satisfied that a case pending in a court subordinate to it involves a substantial questions of the laws as to interruption of this constitution, the determination of which is necessary for the disposal of the case, it shall be withdrawn by the case and may either dispose of the case itself or determine the said question of the law and return the case to the court from which the case has been so withdrawn, together with a copy of its judgment on such questions. Next, officers and servants and the expenses of the High Courts. So now let us see which are those officers and servants from whom they are appointed, and also the expenses of the High Court. Appointment of the officers and servants of the High Court shall be made by the Chief Justice of the court. The conditions of the service of officers and servants of the High Court shall be such as may be prescribed by the rules made by the Chief Justice of the court or by some judge or the officer of the court authorized by the Chief Justice to make rules for the purpose. So whatever the rules which are made for the officers and servants, those rules are made by the Chief Justice or the judge or the higher officers. The administrative expenses of the High Court, including all salary, allowances and pensions, shall be charged upon the consolidated fund of the state, and any fees or monies taken by the court shall be a form of that fund. So whatever the one fund will be there, and whatever the money they are going to take, that will be recorded in the fund system only. So extension of the jurisdiction of the High Court or to union territories. Parliament may by law extend the jurisdiction of the High Court to or exclude the jurisdiction of High Courts from any of union territories. Where the High Court of the state exercises jurisdiction in relation to union territory, nothing in this constitution shall be interrupt as empowering the legislature of the state to increase, restrict or abolish that jurisdiction. And the reference in Article 227 to the governor shall in relation to any rules, forms or tables for subordinate courts in any territory be constructed as reference to the president. Okay, so I think till here I shall end it off. Okay, so in the next session we shall discuss about the electoral process in India. Okay, so don't worry about the notes and also this presentations. We will circulate in your class groups. Okay, so I shall end up here and I shall take the next part in the next session. Okay, thank you.